Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the evening live stream of The Goldie Show. Thanks to all of you for being here. Thank you to everyone on YouTube and Rumble, but of course, and X as well. But of course, a special shout out to all of the mods and the subscribers. And of course, special shout out to all of the channel members who are here and supporting me. So tonight I have a very interesting interview for all of you. I haven't watched this myself. This one was recommended to me, so we'll see how good it is. A lot of you have been asking about the Zoroastrian religion and you want to know more about it. And given that I just made a video about Yalda night, Yalda night is the winter solstice. Its roots go back to the ancient Persian Empire and the Zoroastrian religion. I posted that video. It was actually demonetized. I'm going to make a separate video probably tomorrow talking about how and why my videos are being demonetized. But regardless of that, given that it is, an important time religiously and culturally for Iranians, I decided that, let's watch this documentary. It's my first time watching this as well. So let's see how it goes. I want to give a little bit of an intro to it. So this is an interview from 2012, so about 13 years ago. And the description goes as follows. Professor Kai Khosrov, Irani, is a retired professor emeritus of philosophy from City College of New York. At City College of New York, he taught philosophy for 41 years and also served as the chairman of the Department of Philosophy for 9 years. He has served as director of the Academy of Sciences and Humanities at City University of New York and is a member of the Academy of Science in New York, the American Philosophical Association, the Philosophy of Science Association, and the American Academy of Religion. Professor Irani has lectured in his field at UCLA, the universities of Michigan, London, Göttingen, Vienna, and Rome. At Princeton University, he got to work with Albert Einstein. In 1999, he was singularly honored by the establishment of the K.D. Irani Chair of Philosophy at the City College of New York. This video was produced by the Zoroastrian Assembly, www.zoroastrian.com, and Lord of Wisdom. So, given that this video is available on YouTube from the YouTube account called the California Zoroastrian Center, I think this is going to give you a lot of good information about Zoroastrianism and what it means and the history of Zoroastrianism. So, let's dive right in, guys. Oh, and by the way, tonight, for those of you who are wondering, tonight my bubbly drink is cranberry flavored because, it's Christmas time. And so there you go. Cranberry flavored sparkling water to, be festive and in the mood. All right, let's get started.
Hello, my name is Shahruz Ash, and I am going to conduct an interview today with Professor Khosrow Irani from City University in New York. He's a professor of ancient philosophy, and it is a great pleasure and honor to have him here today and to be able to do an interview with him. We have individuals who have translated the Gathas, but yet their profession is translation. And they have lacked philosophical knowledge and understanding. It is like me translating an economic document, but there are certain terms in their interest rate, supply and demand, but yet I'm not an economist to understand it. So my job is to really translate it, and then we send that translation to the economic department, let's say, of a university, and they're the experts to comprehend it. So isn't the best source of understanding Zarathustra's message, for most part, is to refer to philosophers who have studied it as opposed to translators?
You're so right. There will be people who would resist your suggestion, but undoubtedly it is a philosophic doctrine, and it needs very subtle interpretation, and some of the linguists are able to offer visions, at least partly valuable, but the general conception has to be reconstructed by appropriate philosophic analysis. And if you would like me to do that, I'll give you my reconstruction.
Please do so.
Zarathustra offers a view of the world in terms of certain abstract concepts, which, as was traditional in those days, I mean, throughout the world, religious poetry personalized abstract concepts. And he does that. The creation that Ahura Mazda thought of, it was in his mind, and he articulated it. And
Oh, I'm just going to also say that apparently this live stream is attracting a lot of trolls and a lot of like the jihadis and Islamists. So I'm taking a zero tolerance approach. So yeah, like if you say anything inappropriate, I'm just gonna ban you. Like I'm having zero tolerance. I have zero patience tonight for jihadis or like trolls, because this is a live stream where we learn about Zoroastrianism, and if that triggers you to the point where you feel like, you have to say like, I don't know, La ilaha illallah or Allah Akbar or, whatever jihadi Islamic nonsense, you'll just be banned. You'll just be banned. Like that's all I'm going to say.
made it an ideal creation, not material, but ideal. Now that is called Asha. Literally, that word means truth. But the notion of truth here is a very special one. Truth really means the totality of the vision of ideal existence. It doesn't mean in our ordinary sense the truth or falsity of a statement. The truth that he is talking about is the relationship of all things in perfect harmony, so that nothing occurs at the expense of something else. There is no friction in that existence.
So Ahmed Abdullah says that what I'm uttering is pure nonsense. You don't want me to translate what Abdul actually means, because we Iranians, we know what Abdul means. So yeah, you don't want me to translate what your last name means in English for everyone else, because that would be considered Islamophobic. But you can take your Abdul somewhere else. Thank you.
Ideal world of Zarathustra, Asha, was then actualized in the material world. Ahura Mazda, in his wisdom, conceived of a
So Jane says, Goldie, did you know that the three wise men that visited Jesus' birth were Zoroastrian? I learned that from a video last night. Yes, absolutely. I actually did know that. I've commented on that briefly in my previous live streams. I'm actually working on making a short video in the next few days about how the three wise men who visited Jesus Christ and honored him when he was born were Persian Zoroastrians, the Magi. Yeah, they were. They were. Fun fact.
perfect existence in purely ideal terms. And this is what is called Asha, the truth. The truth then means an ideal form of existence where nothing is in conflict or in abrasion with anything else. It is also the notion of social justice. No one prospers at the cost of somebody's injury. Now, this ideal conception exists in an ideal world, what we might call the mental world. The term is mainyu, which exactly the word comes, the source of the word is the word which in English we have mind. Now, this ideal conception, Ahura Mazda then created into a material world. This is called the Gaithya world. And the ideal world was supposed to be materialized, actualized in matter. There would be, of course, material objects, physical objects. There'd be animal life, there'd be human life, and so on. And it was supposed to evolve, according to Asha, to a state of total perfection. However, and here comes the essential dualist doctrine of Zarathustra. Within this material world, there is also the possibility that that Asha may not be actualized. Indeed, Zarathustra says there are two forces. I use the term vectors, but often the term spirit is used, but we shouldn't transform these into personalities. There is the spirit which promotes Asha, and there is the spirit which opposes, frustrates Asha. And this is the dualism between good and evil. The universe is to be understood as a potentially ideal evolution which has been contaminated by internal opposition and frustration. The world is to be looked at as a moral reality in which there is the movement towards goodness, but there is also the movement towards frustration. Now, this vision is the central religious vision of Zarathustra. And if one doesn't accept that, one cannot accept the faith of Zarathustra. Now, what is the individual to do? Here come the different abstractions of Zarathustra. Each individual is gifted with the good mind. It's not just the mind which enables us to work out mathematical problems or something like that, but the mind which is capable of grasping the moral nature of things. When you see something occurring in your society, you recognize that this much is fair and this is unfair. As one of the later priests said, it is not conceivable that a human being can look at the face of injustice and not recognize it. So we recognize it. When we recognize it, then we should articulate it and commit ourselves to improvement. We discuss it with people whose lives will be affected. We formulate a way of actualizing the good to whatever extent we can, and then we do it. And this is repeated in a phrase which comes in prayers all over. It's called the practice of good thought, good word, and good deed. See, there is no such thing as a good deed without good thought, because in the tradition of Zarathustra, there are no prescriptions, do this, don't do that, and so on. You are left to think through what should be done. The responsibility is yours. This acceptance of this responsibility becomes the way of life. And you have the view of the world. The world is a moral reality, your way of life. Act with good thought, good words, and good deeds. And you have accepted the doctrine of Zarathustra. Now, the interesting thing here is, contrary to the tribal notion, this is a decision to accept this way of life, this vision and this way of life. It's a purely individual matter. In one of the verses of the Gatha, Zarathustra says, I talk to each of you. Listen with care and with careful thought, and make a judgment, each individual by individual, man and woman. Why does he say this? He distinguishes it from the tribal conception, where each individual didn't think for himself or herself. The tribe made the decision. If you're a member of the tribe, that's what you did. But here, each one is asked to make the decision, and each one is asked to bear the responsibility for that decision. You choose to live in this way, or you don't. And thus, what we have is a shift from the tribal to the individual, which has sometimes been called the first enlightenment, and recognition that you have to take the responsibility for what you do. And this is at the heart of it. It must have been a very strikingly different teaching. To us, it appears rationally clear. But in a tribal society, this appears strange.
Before Zarathustra, humans had a deterministic view of the world. They thought that each person had their destiny preset and their future was predetermined. And it seems after his arrival, we started gathering the notion.
I also just want to share a video with you. Let me share. Okay. Let me just pull it up. I want to share a video with you about Zoroastrianism. It's very, very short. Despite the terrorist Islamic dictatorship trying to eradicate various religions and ethnic minorities, Zoroastrians have managed to survive and somehow fight back against persecution. And in fact, there's this one very, very viral video of a sacred Zoroastrian fire that has been burning for longer than Islam has existed. Okay, so here you go. This is a Zoroastrian fire from a Zoroastrian temple in Yazd, and I just want to say, a lot of the Islamists and jihadis and low IQ inbred goat people, when they want to insult Iranians, they'll claim that we worship fire. We don't worship fire. Fire is a representation of light and purity, and the shadow is a representation of darkness and evil. So It's very, it's just very interesting to me how, these jihadis will accuse Iranians of being fire worshippers, and yet, these people go to Mecca, and they, walk around like a black cube, and then they like fight to go and like kiss this meteorite stone, right? So these people literally worship a meteorite, but then they accuse Iranians of being fire worshippers because they just don't understand that no, it's not fire worship. The fire symbolizes the light and purity of the divinity. Um, so, and yeah, there is a very big population of Zoroastrians in India. That's because during the Arab Muslim invasion of Persia, many Zoroastrians fled, and they actually um, found refuge amongst the Hindus. So the Hindus basically allowed Zoroastrians to go there and continue their religion. So here's a video from Iran. This is like a viral video that's gone viral amongst Iranians. It's an older one, but it's a good one. So here you go.
Dreg va to man frans chau Gush ta saus naus chau Auzi demone bisen va شدره و دخیون و آداد دوشی تا چا مرکه چا عطا ایش Sasdun Snaithisha.
There you go. I also haven't yet made a video about this, but I will in the future. Zoroastrianism is the second fastest growing religion in occupied Iran after Christianity. So Christianity is the first one. Zoroastrianism is the second one. So here's a video of people in Iran, in occupied Iran, going to learn about Zoroastrianism. People asking about the song, that's actually Rammstein, Here Come the Sun, which is basically Here Comes the Sun. So very, very like fitting song for that video talking about Zoroastrianism. For those who say that you can't convert to Zoroastrianism, you actually can. So it's a myth that you can't convert. I'll tell you the history behind it. So when Zoroastrians were escaping the Arab Muslim invaders and they went to India and they found refuge amongst the Hindus said, you're more than welcome to, stay in our lands, and, you have full freedom to practice your religion. All we ask of you is that you don't proselytize. So don't convert Hindus into Zoroastrians. Other than that, you're free to do what you want. So the Parsis, as they're now known in India. So the Parsis, they do not accept converts because they respect that agreement that they made with the Hindus 1,400 years ago when they sought refuge in the Hindu Empire. But however, everywhere else, you can convert. Conversion is allowed. So many people in occupied Iran are converting to Zoroastrianism. Even in like countries outside of Iran, people are also converting to Zoroastrianism. So it's only the Parsis in India that do not accept converts out of respect for the fact that the Hindus gave them refuge. So I just wanted to point that out as well. Um, um, I I will talk about the Baha'i faith as well in a future video. The Baha'is are extremely persecuted, even more than the Jewish people. It's like the Baha'is; it's a terrible situation for them. I will speak about that in a future live stream for sure. But tonight's live stream is just about Zoroastrianism. So there you go. That's a little couple of videos about Zoroastrianism, and it's just such a beautiful religion, good thoughts, good words, good deeds. And yeah, all right, let's continue.
That we are in control of our future, and that we are free, and that we can shape the future according to our own will.
In the Gathas, there are two places where he talks about this our making responsible decisions freely. In one case, he says that our Mazda made us such that he gave us this privilege of thinking and deciding and being responsible for the decision. But the individual...
So to the chat, yes, I'm Iranian. And yes, Freddie Mercury was in fact a Zoroastrian. That's true. Freddie Mercury was a Zoroastrian.
Individual's existence was so caught up with the notion of tribal existence that there was really no individuality. Everything was done in the tribe controlled the families controlled the individuals, and you see tribal life today in certain regions.
We have the idea of Asha and its opposite, which is Duruj. And then we have the idea of free will. So there's this right and wrong.
Sorry, so for the people asking about Nietzsche, I don't know if he fully converted to Zoroastrianism, but he did use Zoroastrianism as sort of a baseline for his philosophical debates and critiques, right? So Nietzsche was I don't know if he officially converted, but he was very familiar with it, and he did use that as the baseline for his philosophical critiques.
Ideal situation, and we freely choose one of these. And then you have reward and punishment, which is the consequence of the choice. And based on the reward and punishment, we judge that. We judge, well, I like this outcome, not this. So we're constantly judging our actions based on whether I desire the outcome or not. And I guess that will ultimately lead into what people have become to understand as a final judgment. How did I conduct my life? Accumulating, adding all of these rights and wrongs, and going to immortality. This is, I guess, how we get the idea or the notion of heaven and hell. What is this idea of the final judgment? Is this judgment something we render upon ourselves? Do we judge ourselves at the end, or is there some deity that judges?
We developed this notion right from the start. We human individuals look at various circumstances of our lives and make decisions. We see alternatives of action and we choose one. How this choice is made is an important thing. Is it made with the good mind, with good intentions, with good thought? Now, what does this good thought mean? That you recognize a situation, you see that in some way it is flawed. You notice that it is flawed because it is in some way distinct from what it ideally should be, which your good mind, Bahumana, is capable of seeing. Then that should be the only reason, that is called righteousness, to do the right thing merely because it is right. And that's a very famous prayer which everyone recites, that will give me ultimately my satisfaction, to do the right thing because it is right. What is evil? Evil is that intention which violates that, which gets you to do something for some reason other than that it is right. Some self-promotion or something else. One of the priests of the later Sasanian period said that all our thoughts, if they are kept pure, will tell us what the right thing is. Then why don't we do it? His son asked the high priest, why don't we do this? And the high priest says, because our mind is clouded. It is clouded mainly by two forces, greed and fear. When these move us, then we look for self-interest. We put that above the interest of the right and fail to act correctly. Well, in that case, we have failed in our responsibility. All these acts of doing the right thing for the right reason, doing the right thing out of some accidental judgment, doing the wrong thing for the wrong reason, or doing the wrong thing accidentally and so on, all this is, so to speak, collected in a book of accounts. And when the soul goes to the other side of the gates of death, and now we come to a kind of a dramatic vision. It comes to the bridge of the separator. And then on this bridge, its accounts, all the good is put on one side, and all the evil and the opportunities for good that were lost are put on the other side. And if the good outweighs the evil, you cross the bridge into the state of best consciousness. If not, you fall off the bridge into the state of worse consciousness. These became heaven and hell later on. These are states of consciousness of our spirit. These are not halls where we live in comfort and so on. That's a highly materialist conception of heaven and hell.
Chilo, I'm gonna leave your comment there on top because yeah, it's wild that people are like, why can't no one convert to Zoroastrianism? I've literally explained it 10 times. So I'm just gonna leave your comment there on top for everyone to see. Literally anyone can convert to Zoroastrianism. Google is free. Yeah.
But the conception that there are two different ends for differently valued souls is part of the doctrine. And this, you don't appeal for mercy, you don't plead for this or that. It is the consequence of your life. The moral consequence of your life appears in the state that you go into after you die.
going back to this heaven and hell, the idea of heaven and hell, we later on we developed the idea of Satan or the devil character, so to say.
Chilo's a she. Oh my gosh. عذرخواهی میکنم. Okay. So now I know why Chilo is so ruthless and savage, because I mean you think Iranian men are intense? Like Iranian men are here and Iranian women are like up there. Like not even here. It's like up there. So yeah, of course. Like of course. Like now it makes perfect sense. So there we go. Amazing Cello. I love you. You're the best. Like just keep on being ruthless. You are the real queen. So yeah, just we love you. We love you.
And in Zoroastrianism,
Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay, give me a moment because I want to make sure. Where's Chilo's message here? Um, where is it? Where is it? I just want to. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna star Chilo's message so that I can get back to it because we do have a super chat. So Mordred says, "I like what mechanics wear overall." Thank you for the dad joke. It has nothing to do with Zoroastrianism, but I appreciate, you know what? I'm always a fan of like, PG rated dad humor, so that's a good one. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I like what mechanics wear overall. That was that was great. Thank you.
as you mentioned, we have this Serpenta menu and the Angra menu.
That's right.
The evil spirit and the Holy Spirit,
yes.
or evil mentality or good mentality. Is the Satan a personification then of this Angra Mainyu?
Exactly.
Or the unholy spirit?
Yes. You see what happens in every religion, in every teaching of the initial prophet. There is a spiritual message. Gradually, the spiritual message is promulgated to the people by the priesthood. And the priesthood require the people to do this and that and so on, rituals of various kinds. And the message is mythologically degraded into standard stories of divine forces which look human. We already had standard Greek mythology, standard Babylonian mythology, standard Egyptian mythology. But with these reflective religions, like Zoroastrianism, the teaching of Zarathustra, or the Upanishadic religion, which come at the end of the Vedas, or the certain prophetic prescriptions in the Old Testament, the book of Isaiah, for example, where you have abstract commitments which are demanded of the religious.
I mean, so to all the trolls and Islamists in the chat, in the YouTube chat, who are complaining about how this is boring, I mean, if you want, I'm more than happy to play a documentary talking about how Muhammad the warlord raped a 9-year-old girl because he felt like it. I mean, I could do that if you want. Like, if you want something more interesting and spicy, I'm more than up for sharing videos about how Muhammad the warlord raped women and, was a pedophile. So, I mean, we can watch this, or we can learn about, how Muhammad the warlord is a pedophile. So, your choice here.
Person. But the priesthood gradually humanizes them. And now you do this, you pray to so-and-so, you do this and that. And there's a ritual. And as Baumslag once said, the priests have to construct rituals because they are by profession technologists. There's a technique of communicating with the divinity. And one day I was in a discussion, someone asked me, what do you need this technique for? And I said, this is a technique for getting into the good graces of the divinity, asking for this and that. So this person asked me, tell me precisely what this technique does. And I said, well, actually, I can't do that because this is a kind of the technology of beggary. We ask the divine, give me this, give me better health, save my son, do that, and so on. But that's popular. Max Weber, in his Sociology of Religion, says that with most prophets, the religious vision is given and offered by a charismatic character who makes this believable. And then gradually this person disappears, and the priesthood then, and I'm now using the word of Max Weber, the priesthood develops the ritualization of charisma. And the chapter ends with this phrase. It may well be that in the end, the priest becomes the enemy of the prophet. Now, that's not always the case, but often. But the priest transforms the religious vision into techniques and practices and mythology. Satan is the mythologization of that force in opposition to Asha.
Right.
And then he became a person, and then there were all sorts of stories about him, and so on.
Now I want to switch the subject to Greek philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
And as to Herodotus, the Greek historian, for example, writes and states that the Zoroastrians taught their children three things. One is horse riding, the use of bow and arrow, and speaking the truth. Did this culture of truth come down from the Zoroastrian days?
Oh yes, without any doubt. But the notion becomes degraded because one often thinks of speaking the truth as merely not telling lies. But that is not the essence of the faith. The essence of the faith is grasping a deeper ideal reality. That's what understanding or grasping the truth is. For example, if you ask me, how many cups of coffee did you drink this morning? And I say one, when in fact I had two. I'm telling you a falsehood. But that's not the kind of lie that Zarathustra is talking about. He's talking about the sort of thing in which I see that so-and-so has been treated unjustly. And someone says, what do you think of this treatment? And I would say something like, well, this is usually the way it is done. I've lived long in the academic life, and I know that's the usual way administrators put it. Well, that's how it's always done. And I once told the president in a situation which I think somebody was very unfairly terminated. And I said, here is a competent person wishes to teach her. He has done nothing wrong. What has happened is that he is in a kind of a program that we don't want to promote. And I said, he is prepared to teach in an analogous one. And the president, this is how it's usually done. And I said, but...
So I'm seeing a lot of comments from people who are saying that they're new to my channel. They just subscribed today. This is their first live stream. just wanted to say welcome. Thank you for joining. Thank you for being here. Just wanted to give you a little bit of a heads up. So, my main live streams where I talk about politics, Islamic terrorism, the Middle East, and issues of the day relating to jihad and Islam and all that stuff. That's I do that weekdays at 12 noon Eastern time. And then in the evenings, which is right now, in the evenings, usually I'll find a documentary about a topic that's of interest to me, whether it's about Iran or, like Islam or history or something or religion. And I'll just live stream it. So basically, my evening live streams are way more chill. It's more of a learning opportunity for me, and this is something that I would like kind of watch on my own and live stream on my TV, or like broadcast on my TV and watch there. But I a few times I just kind of, instead of watching it by myself on my TV, I decided to live stream it, and then there was an interest from people and my followers to continue doing these live streams. So that's what my evening live streams are. It's less about like it's less about current events, and it's more just learning opportunity, and we can like watch different things that are not necessarily about Islamic terrorism and jihad, but kind of related in a way. So tonight the topic is of course Zoroastrianism, because a lot of people, especially in my daily live streams, they ask me about religion and they want to know more about Zoroastrianism. So that's why I'm playing this. So yeah, this is definitely more chill. The evening live streams are way more chill, and they're less on topic. I play various documentaries from various topics. So yeah, so if you're wondering, that's what's going on right now. But you definitely want to catch like my daily live streams at 12 noon Eastern if you want to get more sort of like relevant topics related to the day. But welcome. Always great to see new people here, and thank you for subscribing and thank you for the support.
The president just recognized what is happening to this person. He is not being treated justly. And he said, well, administration implies certain rules and regulations. I said, if the rules and regulations are such that they lead to injustice, something should be done. He looked at me and laughed. He said, well, what sort of a fellow are you to talk in this way? But the amazing thing was about about 10 or 12 days later, he told me, I've been thinking about what you said. Maybe we'll put him in this other department, talk to him, and so on. I mean, here was a president in whom the spirit of righteousness resonated, and we could talk this way.
Oh my gosh, are we gonna start this again? So Johnny says they are assuming you're Islam. No, it's Mossad. All hail the king. Yeah. We're all Mossad. Everyone in this channel is Mossad. I'm actually AI generated, so I'm not even a real person. I'm literally an AI generated, like just Mossad channel. So there you go. Yeah.
This is the notion of truth.
Philosophy originated about 4,000 years ago with the Indo-Iranians. And this is according to
everyone asking in the chat if you can be Mossad. Yes. If you have to ask whether or not you could be Mossad, you're pretty much Mossad at this point. Like we're all Mossad. We're all Mossad.
Oxford University's chronology of philosophers. Also, many Greek philosophers used to live in the Zoroastrian territory and obtained their education in the Zoroastrian territory of the ancient times.
Are there secret handshakes for I don't know, like I don't even know how to do it. The secret handshake, but that would be like the Iranian secret, like the Bishkan. So the Bishkan would be like the Savok secret handshake, right? So I guess I could say I'm Savok, right? Because then I would do like like the Iranians do like the snapping fingers thing. So even though I can't do it, so it's terrible, but I have to practice my Bishkan. Um, yeah. But if you have to ask whether or not you're Mossad, you're Mossad. That's fine. You're all Mossad.
The Iranians and the Indo-Iranians, the predecessors to the Greek philosophy, and when they came into contact with each other, how did they influence the Greek thought and thinking?
Oh yes, the earliest visions we have in the Iliad and the Odyssey and so on is a tribal religion, as all the Indo-European religions were, where there are tribal gods, and you have to placate the tribal gods to manage to lead a successful life. The gods were so utterly human that they were not above trickery among themselves. And so you had to know that and play along. But that view was transformed, and certainly transformed, by Socrates, who said that there was such a thing as right and wrong. And how do you get that? By thought, human thought. And how do tribal societies flourish? They flourish by tradition. This is our tradition. Why are you doing this? Well, that has been the tradition. Our ancestors did it. Our parents did it. We do it. That notion, that tradition was unacceptable to Socrates. In the dialogue Euthyphro, it's an ironic dialogue. This is the last year of the life of Socrates, and Euthyphro is a 25-year-old fellow.
To the person who asked if Israel is the bad guys right now, if you think that Israel is the bad guys, you're literally in the wrong chat. Like you're in the wrong live stream. I suggest you leave before you further embarrass yourself, because this is not a jihadi chat. This is not a pro Hamas chat whatsoever. I think Palestine is fake. I think the two-state solution was when trans Palestine was carved out into Jordan and Israel. So I think that the two-state solution was already created when the country of Jordan was created. I think all of Judea and Samaria belong to Israel. I also think Gaza just belongs to Israel. And I think if people want the two-state solution, they could just go to Jordan, because that's literally what it is. So if you don't agree with that, you're in the wrong channel. Go find, like, I don't know, some like pro Hamas channel and just go talk about your terrorism jihad stuff.
Who has received instructions in the temple, and he says, oh, I've learned all about piety. I know whatever there is to know about it. Socrates says, let's examine then. What is piety? And says, piety is doing what the gods wish and not doing what the gods don't wish. And Socrates says, is this an adequate definition? And Euthyphro says, yes, of course it is. That's what's taught. And Socrates says, yes, that may well be. But shouldn't we examine it? That's the matter. That the human being takes upon himself or herself excuse me, the authority to examine what is given by tradition. And the traditionalists are horrified at that idea. Who are you to examine something which has come to us from immemorial tradition? I've been told that by some of the Zoroastrians who don't like my views, who are traditionalists. And I say, I have nothing against tradition, but I think we should examine it. And they say, who are we to examine it? I say, we are rational human beings. We need no additional authority. And so
You know what? The mods are just, oh my gosh, I'm telling you guys, like Iranians, ruthless, savage. So let me just share this. Let me share a message by Gandalf. Middle Earth is more real than Palestine. It has more culture, beauty, arts, languages, and majesty. Yeah, you're 100% right. Middle Earth is more real and actually has more history and more writings and like everything than Palestine. Yeah. 100% right. 100% right.
They say, well, the church at one time, the Catholic Church at one time considered this attitude to be an act of pride, a major sin. Gradually that has been restrained. Oh, well, but you see, this is what we face. And as you point out, that notion of free will is not just a separate notion. There was determinism and free will. The moment you introduce the notion of free will, you introduce the right to examine.
I was reading a book by Ruhi Afnan called Zoroaster's Influence on Anaxagoras, the Greek tragedians, and Socrates. And he, on page 33, he emphasizes that Anaxagoras, being, I guess, a teacher of the Greek tragedian Socrates, emphasized to be skeptic and to freely think.
That's right.
And that's the culture.
Exactly.
To have the absolute freedom to inquire and question.
Yes, yes. This is the Enlightenment. That's the concept of the Enlightenment. In the 18th century, this was raised by the French philosophers, by the English social writers, and by Immanuel Kant in Germany, where he wrote an essay. In German, Was ist Aufklärung? What is the Enlightenment? And he says the Enlightenment is the view where you accept, and it has a Latin phrase, sapere aude. Sapere meaning thought. Aude is the same word as audacity, when it means have the courage to think. Have the courage to think on your own. And having done that, you recognize that you have the right to think. But that's not the only part, because then it follows that you also have the responsibility.
So someone came in the chat and said she is on US State Department's payroll. First of all, I'm Canadian, so at least get your countries right. And then they said she is a fake person only hating on Iran for money. So my response to this person is اگه میخوای مثلا به من توهین بدی و بگی من آدم واقعی نیستم و ایرانی نیستم، لطفاً اقلاً به زبون فارسی پیامتو توی چت بذار که بقیه هم بدونن شما فارسی هستی. یعنی به من نگو من ایرانی نیستم وقتی خودت نمیتونی فارسی صحبت بکنی. همونو فقط میخواستم بگم. پاینده ایران جاوید شاه.
To judge carefully.
I see.
This is the Zoroastrian position was the first one. The same emerged in...
Oh, someone wants me to say I love you guys in Persian. Okay, so همتون رو خیلی دوست دارم. واقعا ازتون سپاسگزارم که توی این لایف چت هستین و دارین از من حمایت میکنین. سپاسگزار.
The Socratic Enlightenment of the Greeks. And in the Platonic doctrine, this is a very major element.
The dictionaries of philosophy claim that Plato's Middle Platonic, which is part of his work, was influenced by Zoroastrianism. In what context, or can you shed some light how Zoroastrianism influenced Middle Platonic work? and there was great works and pieces in there, such as the Republic. Can you tell us a little bit about this, please?
The one idea which is characteristic of the thinking.
Okay, is this guys, is this gonna turn into like just me translating phrases from English into Farsi, or are we actually gonna like learn something about Zoroastrian? Okay, I'll do one more. And I'm only gonna do this one because I think this person is Canadian. So to the person who said, what was it? Something about Winnipeg. Wait, where was it? Let me scroll back here. Oh no, the chat's moving too fast. Something about, can you say you like Winnipeg winters? Okay, so I will say that in Persian. So من زمستون Winnipego خیلی دوست دارم. There you go.
Of Zarathustra is this existence in two realms. The existence, which is a mental existence, the minor existence, as it is called in the Gothic, and the material or the tangible existence called the Gaithya. And this distinction that we as human beings possessing a mind can grasp mental existences independently of perceiving their actualizations in this world, and also perceiving objects in the material world. This separation of two realms, which we find in Zarathustra, we find in Plato. Plato called this grasping of the essences which were in the ideal world, the world of ideas. That capacity is called nous, and that grasping is the act of noesis. And this is certainly, it appears nowhere. It appears in Zarathustra, and it appears in Plato. Then it appears later on in European thinking, and that's always called Platonic thinking. But this is so characteristic a theme that many people think that Plato.
Sorry, so the person who asked if this live stream is live, no, this is not live. This is pre-recorded. I'm just using AI to predict the comments that people put in the live stream. That's why I'm able to respond. I'm using AI to predict future comments. But this is a pre-recorded video that you're watching.
Was informed of it in some form or other by the Greeks who lived in Asia Minor, which was a province of the Persian Empire, and where there were fire temples and major teachers of the faith. I don't know if to what extent Plato was influenced by it, but I think he must have heard of it. And then he was inspired by it and produced his own conception, which is a very interesting one. You don't get the idea of justice by looking at just acts and unjust acts. You make the distinction between justice and injustice by grasping the idea of justice and seeing to what extent it's actualized.
Zarathustra's view of the world materialistic, or did he believe in this duality of material and the non-material, similar to what you just explained about Plato, about whether it's the soul or the mind? We tend to separate that dualism.
Realms. He definitely had these two realms, the minor world and the Gaithya world. But he didn't have the notion of a different kind of reality implanted in matter. I think we do have souls, and the soul then is judged by its worth, moral worth, dhyana. And the soul is, after death, is known as the Urvan. And that is clearly there. So he has a notion of existence, of material existence and a non-material existence.
And is this the duality later on that Descartes tries to further articulate, but in
Yes,
terms of
it's
mind,
that
same thing
that
going
has
through?
dominated philosophy.
As Xenophon states, Cyrus the Great.
So, for those of you who were mentioning in the live stream how Cyrus the Great was Zoroastrian, here we go. Let's see what he has to say about Cyrus the Great. So, for those of you who don't know, Cyrus the Great is the founder of the Persian Empire.
The ancient Zoroastrian king was a Mazda worshipper, which means a wisdom worshipper. Who was responsible for the education of the Zoroastrian kings in the field of wisdom?
Oh yes, what happened was that the Medes and the Persians got together, two separate tribes of the whole set of Iranian tribes, and they got together with the father or the father-in-law of Cyrus, who was a Mede, and Cyrus married his daughter. Cyrus was a Persian. They got together, and then a church was established, which was the Church of the Achaemenian Empire. And the Medes were the organizers, the administrative priests, and the ritual priests, and the Aithapats were the teachers, and they were usually Persian, and they taught the Gothic message
to the emperors and the kings at that time.
Yes, and also, well, I suppose, to the more literate public, but also to the general public. It was a very enlightened population in those days. And the fact that they absorbed this message, we can see in their inscriptions and in their practices.
Many scholars claim Cyrus was one of Zarathustra's disciples. And also in the Bible, we see the name of Cyrus as the anointed one and a savior. In what context is he known to be the savior in the Bible? Can you articulate and elaborate this notion for us, please?
This is what happened. Cyrus was, he viewed himself as a world ruler to establish the Kshatriya, that means the authority, the dominion, which would organize the world according to Asha. And so he just walked into other states and incorporated.
So for those of you in the live stream on YouTube who are talking about the Anunnaki and how Ahura Mazda or the Farbahar with wings kind of reminds you of a space visitor. Yes, there are theories about that. I'm not going to get into that on this channel, even though I personally am a big fan of watching like as a kid, I used to watch Ancient Aliens, like the TV series Ancient Aliens on the History Channel all the time. So, I'm a big fan of that. I don't know if I believe it, but it's fun, right? Like I'm a big fan of sci-fi and stuff. So there are, theories out there, but I'm not going to be playing any of those on my channel because I kind of like to stick to facts and history and stuff. But yeah, like there's a lot of videos and theories out there about like the Anunnaki and stuff like that. But that's kind of going like beyond the scope of this channel. I'm not gonna play Anunnaki videos on my live stream, guys. No. This live stream is about politics, or this channel is about politics, Middle East, things like that. Um, and in the evenings, like I said, I do kind of live streams. I do live streams that, are kind of related. So this is related because this is about the history of Zoroastrianism and how that sort of influenced the Persian Empire. But, a theory about the Sumerians actually being half human, half alien, that's way beyond the scope of this channel. Sorry, I'm not going to do it.
Them into what he called the good state. He did not impose any of his laws on him. Of course, these people had to pay tax, naturally, to support the authority, and they had to live by the national laws. But the particular private laws were left to each group, each state. The family laws were the laws of the people as they had them. And he permitted them to have their own religious temples, religious practices, and so on. When he conquered Babylon, Babylon was under a tyranny, and many Babylonians themselves were agreeable to having him enter Babylon. He entered with a minimal of military friction. And one of the first things he did was the Jews were in Babylonian captivity. They had been conquered by the grandfather of the king and brought to Babylon.
Oh, we have a super chat. Let me pull it up here. So it's lovely that Goldie is forever 20 something. Thank you. That's a very nice comment. I'm actually 40, but thank you. I appreciate that. Very, very kind of you to say. I don't mind aging. Like, I know a lot of people are like worried about their age and getting older or whatever. It's never really bothered me. I don't mind saying I'm 40, like it doesn't scare me or anything like that. But thank you.
Babylon, the elite. And they went to Cyrus and said, we are prisoners here, etc. And Cyrus freed them. And they said, we have to go back and we have to build, our temple was destroyed. And so Cyrus helped them to build the temple. And their temple vessels had been confiscated by the Babylonians. He restored those to them. So the Jews said, here is someone who is helping us, our tribe, and therefore he is sent by Jehovah to be our helper. And they considered him as the anointed of the Lord.
Professor Richard Fry from Harvard University argues that Cyrus was the first person who demonstrated the concept of separation of church and state.
Sorry, to the person on Rumble who asked me if I'm ever planning on getting back into Parliament, I don't know. I mean, not right now. Like I was in politics for 10 years, literally from like the age of 30 until the age of 40. I was in politics. I was an elected official for 7 years. Literally just got out of politics back in February. After 10 years of, being a parliamentarian, I'm not going to lie. After 10 years, it's kind of nice to just be a private citizen and to just be free to say what I want to say without having to answer to anyone. So I don't know if I'm ever going to get back into politics in Canada because unfortunately, Canada is way too politically correct. And according to, the progressive left or I don't know, whatever, I'm actually a far right, white, nationalist, Islamophobic, xenophobe even though I'm not white, I'm not far right, and I'm an immigrant myself, and I'm a victim of Islamic terrorism. But the situation in Canada is so bad is that as an Iranian, when I speak the truth, that's considered offensive. So I don't know if I'm going to get back into politics. I feel like I'm now that I'm out of politics, I actually have a platform to share the truth without worrying about what anyone's going to say. And I kind of feel like I've been given an opportunity to really share my message. And the fact that my YouTube channel has been growing so much, and my videos on all my social media platforms are going viral, and they're getting millions of views, and they're being shared and downloaded and uploaded, and other people are sharing it as well. I feel like I've been given an opportunity by God to really educate people, and I don't think I would be able to have the opportunity to speak so freely if I was an elected member of parliament. And given some of the things that I've said, even though what I'm saying is completely true, um, it just it would offend the woke lefties or something. So um if I get back in, do it like Trump your way. Yeah, so Canadian politics doesn't work that way. Like, it's definitely party politics. And yeah, like I've just found my voice. And again, like, after 10 years of having to limit myself and be quiet, I feel like I finally have an opportunity to say the truth. So I feel like I could do more by educating people and by waking up the masses, um and putting political pressure on politicians using my voice and my platform, right? So having already been on the inside, I know how it operates, I know how it works, so I can use that knowledge and that lived experience to my advantage to get the results that I want to see from the outside, right? You know what I mean? So, um, there you go. I hope that kind of explains where I am right now.
To claim Cyrus established a secular society where each person could freely practice their own individual belief. Cyrus is also known for writing the first Declaration of Human Rights. There's a cylinder in the British Museum called the Cyrus cylinder. Is this because Cyrus believed that basic human rights such as freedom, equality, and justice are universal and therefore a moral absolute?
Okay. So we have a comment here. Um, Zoroastrianism and Hinduism have an ancient relationship. They were like the same religion, which split into two branches in Persia and India. Um, that's interesting. I didn't know that. I mean, I'll definitely look into that, but I do know that a lot of these very ancient civilizations and religions are sort of influenced by one another in some way, shape, or form. And the Hindu civilization is one of the ancient civilizations as well. And again, 1400 years ago, when the Arab Muslim invaders came to Persia, many Iranians actually sought refuge amongst the Hindus. And so, we no one really talks about the sort of ancient relationship between Hindus and Zoroastrians. Um, I guess for some reason it's just not really like focused on that much, but there is that relationship there. And I have a lot of respect for the Hindu civilization. A lot of inventions actually came from India. Yeah, no, I'll look into that. That's really interesting. I didn't know that. I'm sure there's probably some sort of connection or overlap there. Absolutely.
I think so. He didn't put it that way. We haven't a record of this kind of thing. But he certainly saw that, as Zarathustra said, each individual must make an informed and intelligent choice. Now, in order to do that, you must be left free. There is also the notion of asha, which is justice. And so he established the national courts, what we might call the federal courts, where any dispute of this kind would be treated fairly. In order to have a standard way of life, he established the rules of the marketplace. So that was governed throughout the empire. But in each individual state, they could have their own laws about property transfer, inheritance, and so on. That was for the local people to decide on their own.
In this book, Philosophy of History, by George Hegel, he claims the Persian Empire is an empire in the modern sense, for we find it.
Oh, okay. So another super chat comment here. So Goldie, what do you think of Muslims claiming that dual Qarnayn figure in Quran is Cyrus? Are you familiar with it? It seems to be Alexander the Great with stories copied from Alexander Romance. So there's literally nothing in the Quran that is original. Actually, no, that's not true. There is like one thing in the Quran that is original. That's the story of Muhammad flying on a winged donkey with the face of the woman to the heavens and back. So that's definitely original to the Quran, because I've never heard of any other prophet flying a winged donkey with the face of a woman going to the moon and back. But in terms of stealing historical figures, they've done that a lot. Like they've done it with Jesus, they've done it with Mary, they've done it with so many other things. So I mean, there's literally nothing original in the Quran about that. So sure, they can say that, but we all know the truth. So yeah, it's basically it's just historical revisionism, right? It's basically them trying to rewrite history and claim everything for themselves, right? It's like the same reason why they say like Jesus was Muslim. Like it's like literally the most idiotic thing I've ever heard. And I don't even, and like they say it with a straight face. Like they just walk up and they're like, Jesus was a Muslim. And I just look at them and I'm like, am I missing something here? Because Jesus was born 600 years before Muhammad the warlord invented your religion, and yet you're walking around saying Jesus was Muslim, right? So it's the same thing. It's the same exact thing. It was basically just a way for them to co-opt other cultures and traditions and celebrated figures. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Consisting of a number of states which are indeed dependent, but which have retained their own individuality, their manners and laws. The general enactments binding upon all did not infringe upon their political and social idiosyncrasies, but even protected and maintained them, so that each of the nations that constitute the whole had its own form of constitution. Can you tell us a little bit about the formation of the government that Cyrus the Great had established that represents what Hegel is stating for us, please?
This is the idea that each culture had its own vision of life, and that was part of their heritage. It was not the function of the emperor to trespass upon it. The emperor merely established a universal society which harmoniously practiced trade and organized in such a way that there is the least amount of friction. This is a very interesting idea. Social friction is viewed as a very damaging thing, because the economic, what has happened with our contemporary society is that we have viewed our welfare so very much in terms of economic advantage. And many people are not satisfied with being just economically adequate. There's this constant need to have more, because who knows, in the future you may need the money and so on and so forth. This kind of uncertainty and the anxiety has produced a culture which is, I suppose there may have been that sort of thing even in the old days. But today this is a very big problem. And the tribalism is being replaced by the conflict between classes, which was, of course, magnified by the communist vision.
It seems part of it is because man feels insecure.
Exactly.
And certain philosophers said life is nothing but a struggle to survive. And since we equate survival to economics, it seems if we gave everyone a blanket security of some form, perhaps it might hopefully reduce some of that.
I hope so.
Yeah.
At least that was the view of Franklin Delano Roosevelt. But they are now trying to turn that back.
Some of the social...
Some that...
So Musa asks, good evening. Are you an avid reader of old and recent books on the history of civilizations, like the ones of William James Durant, Fernand Braudel, Edward Gibbons, Thucydides, etc.? I do enjoy reading books about ancient civilizations and ancient histories. I haven't had as much time to read recently because I've just been a little bit busy. But I do try to watch a number of documentaries. If you have any good books that you want to recommend to me, let me know. I would love to read them. But I find that for me, the best way to learn, especially learning about the Persian civilization, there's so many good accounts on Instagram. They're mostly Farsi accounts, so like I'll watch a lot of Farsi accounts, and they have podcasts and videos about the history of the Persian Empire. So usually, when I'm doing something, I'll be playing one of those podcasts or videos in the background to learn. But if you have any books that you could recommend, definitely let me know, because I do need to make more time for reading. I've been so busy with life that sometimes it's a challenge to get a few hours here and there to read these days. But would love your suggestions and opinions on that. Thank you for joining the live stream. Appreciate that.
Social legislation.
It seems we need a balance.
Exactly. That's the thing. In these matters, there are always issues where somebody's interest is being imposed upon, and one must get the best possible balance. That is what democracy was supposed to be. Instead, it has become a battlefield. But what's the use of complaining about these things? But there must be a vision somewhere that can solve it. Zarathustra's vision is that there is a solution. There is the ideal Asha. You need to have the intelligence and the insight to get to it by restraining your personal self-interest or your fears.
It seems this notion of heaven that man has, it's the supreme idea, because we see this world to be imperfect.
That's right.
So it's the perfect state of mind or idea that comes to the mind, except we lack the wisdom to create that.
Yes.
And in order for someone to do the right thing and progress to that ultimate state, it seems Zarathustra reduces finally everything to wisdom.
Yes.
It's ultimately we lack the wisdom, and he puts so much emphasis on this, which it becomes the God and deity, that is the final frontier.
There are two aspects of it. One is grasping the ideal state of the social order where most of the friction lies. And even in the natural order, because there is.
Okay, so Scorpion King says, Goldie, please explore the common origins of Hinduism, Zoroastrianism, Avesta, and Rigveda have common gods, rituals. It is really fascinating. Okay, I'll make a note of that, and I'll look into it for sure. If I can find like an interesting video to play in, one of my evening live streams where things are more chill, absolutely, I'll look into that. What's interesting is that I also know this is from one of my Yazidi friends. My understanding is that there's also a lot of connections between Hinduism and the Yazidi religion. I think, especially when it comes to, I want to say that the peacock imagery. Is that the right one? I can't remember now, but I know there is some sort of um, similarity and overlap between Hinduism and the Yazidi religion as well. The Yazidi religion is another religion that's pretty ancient as well. So I'll make a note, and I'm more than happy to look into that as well. Thank you for that suggestion.
Friction between us and the natural order too. Diseases, for example, and so on and so forth. So the curing of diseases becomes a morally worthy act, produces good. One of the reasons why there are so many doctors among the Zoroastrians. This is an idea of some high degree of optimism. We'll be able to grasp this truth and we will know what to do. You must get to know what the truth is. You must be able to formulate the proper way to achieve it, and you must have the will and the courage to put it into practice. This is the wisdom.
Can anyone choose this religion and philosophy freely for themselves?
Zarathustra declares this to be a vision to be chosen by each individual by himself or herself. It doesn't say individuals of this kind or that kind belonging to this group or that group. This is an individual faith.
Okay, so we have a book suggestion. So Markin says, let me just write this down. So the Zoroastrian tradition by Farhang Mir is a great book and concise explanation of Zoroastrian beliefs. It really helped in my conversion. Oh my gosh, that's so nice. Okay, I'm going to write that down as well. The Zoroastrian tradition by Farhang Mir. Really good to know. I will leave your comment up for a little bit so that other people in the chat or who are watching the live stream have an opportunity to write down the name of the book and author in case they're interested in learning more as well. All right. Oh. Oh. Okay, so we have another okay. We have a super chat from Aisha's goat. So in a world full of glass, you're the diamond. Thank you. If we could take one piece of your wisdom and make it the new Goldie standard, what's the one law you would have us all live by? So the one law that I would have everyone live by is the motto of the Zoroastrian faith. In Persian, it's Pindoranik, Kirdoranik, Goftoranik. In English, it's good thoughts, good words, good deeds. So if that's the the one thing that I would, say, take with you: good thoughts, good words, good deeds. Now, I just want to be very clear: good thoughts, good words, and good deeds doesn't mean being, a pushover or just letting people walk over you because you think you have to be kind. Absolutely not. Good thoughts, good words, good deeds. Sometimes that means having to have the courage to say things which might be uncomfortable, or having the courage to go against the flow. So, but that would be my piece of advice: good thoughts, good words, good deeds. And um as long as you're saying what you're saying for the right reason, you're not saying it to hurt anyone, you're saying it because you want to help people. That's the most important thing. So yeah, good thoughts, good words, good deeds. And we have another book suggestion. um this one's by the Major Actual. So, uh, Immortal by Stephen R. Ward. Also, I should consider a show on Pahlavism. Okay, sure. Let me write this down. So, Immortal by Stephen R. Ward. Ooh, my YouTube page died there for a reason. All right. Immortal by Stephen R. Ward, and follow up: do a show on Pahlavism. Okay, absolutely. Thank you for that. Thank you so much.
And therefore, it is absolutely inconceivable that he would have thought that this applies only to this group or that group. His whole approach was to move from tribalism to individuality.
There we go. So that is the end of the documentary. I thought that was personally very informative. I learned a lot. I hope you guys appreciated that. For the people in the chat who are saying things like, what does it say? Like, they're saying things like, I don't know, burn the Quran. Absolutely, I would never do that. There's a difference between criticizing um, religion and being disrespectful. And I don't, listen, I don't care if other people burn books. It's not my thing. I'm not going to do it. So let's just be a little bit respectful there of that. Um, Okay, we have another comment here. Miss Gamari, The Great Game by Peter Halkirk is a good read. It's Anglo-centric, but does touch on Anglo-Brit War and annexation of Herat. Okay, I will look into that as well. The Great Game by Peter Halkirk. Okay. Thank you everyone for joining me, guys. I really appreciate all of you here. This was great. I learned a lot. Of course, as always, I enjoyed speaking with you all. I enjoyed your feedback. Welcome to all of the new members and new subscribers. Again, just wanted to point out my evening live streams are a little bit more chill. Evening live streams are a little bit more chill because it's more just focused on documentaries and stuff like that. And during the day at 12 noon Eastern, those are my live streams where I focus more on politics and current issues and Islamic terrorism and jihad. We have another comment. So Musa Mohsin Zadeh says, here's a first title for The Road: The Story of Civilization, Volume 1, Our Oriental Heritage. Okay, I'm going to write that down. The Story of... That sounds really interesting. Story of Civilization, Volume 1, Our Oriental Heritage by William. Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Really appreciate all of you. Thank you to all the members, all the mods, all the subscribers, and thank you to everyone for the super chats. Means a lot. So tomorrow, I'm actually going to be starting my daily live stream a bit later because I have an appointment at around 12 noon. So instead of starting at around 12 noon, I'm going to be starting at around 2 p.m. Eastern instead. But for those of you who are subscribed and have your notifications turned on, you'll see the notification pop up anyway. And as you guys all know, I always like schedule my live streams before it begins. So you'll see the time there. So anyways, thanks everyone for joining. Have a good evening. I'm going to turn off my live stream and I'm going to go watch some documentaries about the Anunnaki now. There you go. So, all right. Have a good evening, everyone.